Back live with you tonight, John in Focus. Let's take you now to the latest on this story. We cross live to our reporter Katleho Sekhoto on the ground. Katleho, what are we learning this evening as it gets into the middle of the night?
A very good evening, Thabo. Indeed, as the evening winds down, you know, the question is about the affected survivors or the victims of the fire we saw here today, taking 73 lives. What happens to those who've remained behind? So what we know is that government has made 3 shelters available throughout the city, and about 2 buses came here earlier on to transport those people who are willing to get onto the buses and transport them to the shelters. Now, what we know is that some people were a bit reluctant to get on those buses, and the people who did get onto the buses were really hesitant in terms of speaking to us because they are so deeply traumatized. And so, you know, it's been a coordination by, you know, a convener here who I'll speak to now, Ali, who's been trying to rally the people who've been affected by the fire, and noting that many of those are foreign nationals from Malawi, from Zimbabwe, from Tanzania. And it was about encouraging them to get onto the bus. Ali, thank you so much for your time. It's been a difficult evening for you. Just tell us, you know, how you wanted to rally everyone to get onto the bus and the challenges you faced.
Thank you so much for the time. It's been really hard for us. Basically, it happens at night, which was around 1 a.m. So no one could understand what is happening because the fire started from the bottom of the building. So when the smoke was rising up, that's when people was trying to save their lives. People had to jump in 4, 5, 6 buildings down. You could see a lady throwing a baby down first, and then she threw herself down following the baby. People died in the process, and it's been very confusing because they had nowhere to go and nowhere to claim about their belongings. As we are speaking now, police were here. All the institutions from the government, they did their part. Only that they were traumatized and they were having fear because they were so waiting for help. The Dula people came and tried to threaten them. So they were confused, like what's happening. But as we are speaking now, the buses came and then they've taken to shelter places. So it's really hard for us because being foreigners and then being involved in this such tragedy is hard. Yes.
And you said, Ali, it was hard to get people on the bus. Why so?
Yeah, the problem, they had no sure. They were not believing that where are they going. We had to assure them that they are safe. The buses are coming from the government side and they'll be monitored because since they have lost their relatives in the building, so they had fear like, where am I going? Because my husband has been dead and I'm being taken somewhere where I don't know who should care for me. So we had to assure them to say, no, you don't have to worry. We are following you. We will be in touch with you. As we are speaking now, the last bus has just left to evacuation places. Yes.
Now, Ali, we understand that a number of people made alternative arrangements because not everyone got onto those buses. Those people who made alternative arrangements, do you have any sense of where they went and what's happened to them?
Actually, it's really hard, like I said, because you know, the building was covered with, I should say, 3 nationalities: Zimbabweans, Malawians, Tanzanians, and partly also South Africans. They also there. Now, since the tragedy happens, they were like confused, like what should come next. So when we told them to go to the bus, they refused, and at the same time, they don't know what comes next. So it's hard for them to convince like anything. Even others could even refuse to eat because they don't know what's happening. They are they're in dilemma. So it's really hard. But lastly, they understood and then they bought in the buses. Yes.
And Ali, just a last one. What would you like to see happen to the survivors of this tragic event in the coming days? What would you like to see happen for them?
Yeah, in most cases when these things has happened, especially the arrangement has made from the government or any other entities, like taking them to the shelter, there's no proper follow-up for them to see how are they staying there, who is maybe sick. You know, it's happening at night, right? But who is sick or who has been maybe injured, nobody goes there and follow them. At the same time, you see them staying there maybe for 2-3 weeks. What is going to happen next, they don't know. So it's hard. We need somebody or any institution to follow up and then find out what's happening from them, and then maybe relocate them to their relatives because they are scattered. Others are even calling from their countries, like from Malawi. We heard about the accident, the tragedy. Our relatives safe. Are they dead? They are not even sure what's happening. And certainly we're also appealing to our consulate general so that they should also come and then see what happened here. Because, you know, as a mission from Malawi, they must come and then see what's happened here.
Ali, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Wow.
thank you. Thabo, you heard it there from Ali, who's a convener from the African Diaspora Forum, who was really active in trying to rally people onto the buses and taking them to the shelter, but outlining the resistance or the challenge that he experienced, because people are so traumatized, they were not sure as to where they're going if they do get onto that bus. And a number of issues there, but also Ali there highlighting that even though some have gotten to those shelters, what happens next for them? Will they just be left there? Will there be a constant care and touch base with them? So those are the questions, which remain, and a sense of unanswered, just an unknowingness going into the next few days following this tragic event.
Katleho, I can't help but wonder that you've got some hangers-on, maybe that did not want to go on the bus. Are they planning to remain there outside that building, which we believe the engineers have declared it unstable at this particular point? What do they think will happen?
Yes, so I mean the issue with the people who didn't get onto the buses, the suspicion is that many of them made alternative arrangements in terms of perhaps living at family, at friends' places or people they know. But the suspicion, which I spoke to an activist earlier on who was saying it's likely that they might come back to the area because what we saw earlier on today was a group of the affected survivors, victims, standing around the block demanding to actually get into the building because some of them wanted to actually see if they could find any of their belongings left. Perhaps some things weren't destroyed by the fire. So there is a likelihood, or there's a sense that perhaps those who didn't get onto the bus might find themselves here tomorrow trying to see if they can collect pieces of their lives which they think perhaps may have not been damaged by the fire. But definitely not a lot of people did get onto those buses. There was actually a plan to have 3 buses come here, but only 2 came because the third one would have been a waste because no one was here at that point.
And as far as the building is concerned, is it now handed over officially to the South African police?
Certainly, Thabo, it has been handed over to police, and we're actually seeing a scaling back of law enforcement officials around the area. I mean, earlier, just an hour ago, it was, so many police officials here, forensics, as well as, officials from the state trying to gather evidence or sift through the scene. But there's definitely a scaling back from from the official perspective. So yes, it's we'll see tomorrow morning in terms of what that might cause if there's a scaling back of officials on the scene, because then that invites the people who did want to come back to the building to come actually search the building and look for their things.
Katleho, let me let you go. I appreciate your reporting. Thank you very much for coming on tonight. That's Katleho Sekhoto. They're live for us in the Joburg CBD, where some got on the bus and some have not gotten on the bus to the alternative accommodation that has been provided by the city of Johannesburg.